Elizabeth, to kick us off, what have been your favorite 5 minutes of the past week?
A lot has happened this past week. Home for Thanksgiving. We beat OSU again in football.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. So many great things have happened. But honestly, I think my favorite 5 minutes were on Sunday when I finally got to see both my roommates again for the first time after break. And we just got to catch up. I love them so much. So just being able to talk with them again in person, definitely the best 5 minutes of the week.
That is so sweet. I love that. It's so special to have like roommates you can come back to and like be excited to see and interact with and like have such wonderful conversations with.
Yeah, I agree. I've had great roommate situations in the past. So this year is kind of like a breath of fresh air that I am excited to come home and talk to them. So being
Yeah.
able to catch up with them was great.
I'm glad it's a breath of fresh air. I know that roommates can be the best of times and the worst of times, as we were kind of saying before this. Like it can be crazy, and I'm sure we can get into some of that down the line here. But I want to just back it up a little bit. Talk me through. You're at the University of Michigan. I want to know what led you to this school. Where'd you come from? And then what did you kind of looking to study here? Like what brought you to Michigan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an out-of-state student. I'm from Buffalo, New York. When I was applying for colleges my junior year of high school, I didn't apply to almost any schools in New York. The only school I applied to was Syracuse. Every other school I applied to was out of state. So I was very adamant on the fact that I at least want to get out of Buffalo. It's not that I dislike it by any means. I mean, I was born, raised there. I love the city with my whole heart. I just wanted like different experiences. So it was really hard that year because schools weren't offering tours because of the pandemic. So I was doing a lot of virtual stuff. But my parents and I just hopped in the car one day and we drove to Ann Arbor and we walked around campus. There was literally no one here because
Yeah.
there were no classes. But I loved it so much. We just visited all the different buildings. I had applied to LSA, so we walked to the Literature, Science, and the Arts building. We drove up to North Campus, and I loved it. I thought it was so beautiful, and even though there's no one there, you could just tell there's something just so special about this campus. So when I applied to all the colleges I applied to, I was initially a political science major, and my goal was undergrad in poli sci, get my master's in public policy. I really wanted to be a policy analysis. I wrote my admissions essay on it, everything. I was super passionate about it. But then I came here and I took an upper level poli sci class second semester of my freshman year and I realized I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm still really interested in the political side of the United States, but I was taking two American culture classes at the time, and I really liked that it combined politics and American culture, obviously, because that isn't something you saw in poli sci at all. So I started exploring that more, and then by the end of the first semester of my sophomore year, I declared American culture major. So
All
I kind of
right.
bounced around a lot.
That's good though. That's valuable. I think there's something to be said of like thinking like you walked in, you had a path, you took a class, and you're like actually, and I think that's really valuable and kind of
Yeah.
good to adapt and like you're still I feel like really in that path. Your minor also has kind of things to do with like law and politics as well, right?
Yeah, it's law, justice, and social change. It's a sub minor in the sociology department. It's really interesting, and I picked up that minor because when I declared American culture, I didn't know at the time if I wanted to go in more of a humanities route or if I still wanted to do that public policy grad program that I'd mentioned. So I thought having that law and social change background would be really helpful if I did decide to apply to post grad school. So
Yeah, it is a good backing. I didn't know that'd be. It's kind of funny it's in the sociology department, but that's cool. I love the. And when I say I love the social department, I mean I love Terry McGinn. I have no other exposure to the social department, but I do love Terry.
we love Terry
We
so
love Terry.
much.
If you, the listener, if you want to know more about Terry, he's in the episode catalog. So like, scroll down a little bit, you'll find Terry, and it's literally one of my favorite episodes I ever did. He's so sweet. He has so many great things to say.
Yeah, he's from Western New York too. So
Yeah,
him
he
and I have
is.
a lot to talk about. Yeah.
How often did he bring that up in class? Because I feel like when he was in class and like he knew something about a student, it came up every single class.
He only brought it up in class once. I had went to his office hours and I was just talking to him about my grade and he stopped me mid-sentence and said, "Where are you from? You do not have a Michigan accent." And I explained to him, I was like, "Oh, I'm from Buffalo." And he couldn't believe it. He was so excited. He immediately started talking to me about all these different suburbs where my parents work and everything. He was very excited and it made me so happy. And then in lecture the following day, we were talking about like environmental impacts and he was like, is the student from Buffalo, New York here?" Like, "Oh, that's me."
I love that. I love that. I like the attendance. Like he stops going by
Yes.
name. He's just like the student from Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I was in sociology and music, and he would always there was I think two music majors in that class, two sociology majors, and a French exchange student, and he would always like defer to them for different questions. It
Love
was very
it.
always very fun. But yeah, that's cool though. But like I really like the sociology department, and like now as a junior, are you still thinking of things post grad? Are you leaning that way still?
I've been actually the past couple weeks applying to internships like rapid fire. They're all over the place. There was a period in time where I really wanted to work in sports. I talked with some people with some fam who have family connections with who work in the sports industry. So I've been applying to some internships there. I don't know exactly for sure what I want to do. I've been really into publishing and special collections work lately. So a lot of my classes have been requiring me to go to the Hatcher Graduate Library, the Bentley Archive up on North Campus, the Clemens Library, just getting out of the classroom. And I just get to work with those materials basically every week, it feels like. And I love it so much. And I think I really want to pursue a career where I get to work with firsthand primary sources like that. So that's what I'm looking into right now.
Like sports historian almost like you're looking at like that kind of stuff in a career path, or like what would primary source documents look like in a journalism field like that?
It depends, honestly, what kind of library you apply to. So the Bentley Archive up on North Campus has any and all information you could think of pertaining to the University of Michigan's athletic department. So I'm doing a research project up there right now, and we've been using newspaper clippings, old Sports Illustrated. They also have a Michigan Daily Archive, which is really interesting that I've been using as well. The Clemens has early America pieces, the Hatcher, the special collections is just all over the place. We worked with the food special collections. We got to work with cookbooks. I did
That's
an
so cool.
analysis on a cookbook about soul food. So honestly, it just kind of depends on what kind of archive and library you work in. There's information and history on literally every single aspect of American culture that you can think of. So it's just you have to find your niche. So
That's so cool. Can you sneak me into Clements someday? Because, like, that place is under lock and key, but I really want to get inside. Like, it looks so gorgeous and so cool.
I went there for a class this semester, my American culture class, and we always speak with the same librarian there, Maggie Vanderford. Love Maggie. If anyone has ever had a class at the Clemens, they've met Maggie. She's the sweetest person to ever exist. And I walked in and she pointed at me and she said, "You've been here before." And I have been there many, many times. The Clemens, yeah, total lockdown, like you said, super hard to get in unless you're there for a class. But
Mm-hmm.
I do know during finals they do special like study breaks where you can go to the Clemens during open hours and you can go up to the viewing room and you can just study. Bring your laptop, bring no pens, pencils though are okay, and you can just sit there and do homework for whenever the study sessions are available. I don't know the dates though.
That's wicked. Okay, I'm so glad you told me this because now I need to take advantage of this. That seems so cool. Also, I feel like Maggie's like, I know everyone who's been in my library. Like, I feel like it's just
Yes.
that vibe of like like very Ollivander from Harry Potter, like just knows, and they're like, ah, yes.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's so cool. I'm curious your POV on Michigan. And I think I really want to lean into like Michigan sports because that's definitely in your arena,
Yeah.
your Yoast arena to say. But like talk me through when you came to Michigan, like looking at it, because I know Buffalo's a big area. Like Buffalo Bills is a big sports hub as well. And I was just talking to Jordan from the Side Biscuit about that, which plugged that episode as well. But like coming to Michigan, was that also kind of in the back of your mind of like, okay, I really want to be engaged in a lot of the athletics here?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like you said, Buffalo's super big into their sports. We have the Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, that's our hockey team. I'm a super big hockey fan. So when I was younger, my dad would take me to one Bills game and one Sabres game a year, and he always took me to the kids' games because he
Aw.
said they are more appropriate.
Aw.
So starting when I was, I think, 8 until I turned like 15, because my dad really didn't want to expose me to that.
That's
We
a
went to the
culture
kids
shift. Yeah.
we went to the kids games and we're also really big Toronto fans because we don't have a baseball or basketball team in Buffalo. So I grew up a big Toronto Blue Jays and Toronto Raptors fan as well. So my dad kind of exposed me to all these different sports as a kid, which is kind of funny because like I grew up a competitive dancer. So I never really got to participate in as many sports as I'd like to because dance was such a full-time commitment.
Hmm.
So watching sports was just like kind of a fun little escape that my dad and I had together. But he's part of the reason I leaned towards Michigan when I called him because I opened my acceptance letter alone because I was so scared I had gotten rejected, and I didn't
Yeah.
want anyone to see me cry. So
Dang.
I opened it alone. I called my mom right away, and then I called my dad, and his immediate answer was, "Oh my gosh, you got accepted to a Big Ten school."
Yeah.
So he from the very beginning was super excited about the athletic environment at Michigan. So that's part of the big reason why I got very involved because when I got the email about season tickets for football, he was like, "You have to buy them. You
Oh yeah.
have to get season tickets, Elizabeth. You don't really, it doesn't matter." So I did. I only had football season tickets my freshman year, and he was so right. It was one of the best decisions I ever made because there's
Yeah.
truly nothing like being in the big house. So I think that like initial push for my dad to kind of get involved really encouraged me a lot. And the difference like in the fan bases in Buffalo and Michigan are honestly kind of crazy. Not just the fact that it's like professional teams compared to collegiate, but definitely just seeing how the different fans kind of operate is super cool.
What are those differences? Like, what are the big things Michigan fans versus Buffalo fans?
Well, I don't know how to like put it in the words. It's just
Hmm.
walking into the big house compared to walking into, I'm just gonna call it Bill's Stadium because the official name is just so much. But just like that initial walking in is just kind of an addition, it's a different feeling.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing my final research project for my American culture class on Bills Mafia, which is the Buffalo Bills fan base. And I mean, their fans are called the Bills
The
Mafia.
mob, that's intense. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So it's like they have that name already. So there's just that additional intensity that you just not saying the Michigan fans aren't intense because they absolutely are, and I mean no disrespect because I'm a huge Michigan fan now myself, but it's
Hmm.
just there's that different level, I think. I mean, you can look up Buffalo Bills Mafia like tailgate and you'll see pictures of people jumping through folding tables and lighting stuff on fire. It's crazy. And I'm using a couple of pictures like that in my presentation. And I don't know, it's just, they're both very dedicated fan bases, but just in a different way. If that makes sense in the ways that they display it. Like, you're not going to catch someone outside the big house jumping through a folding table, but that is the norm when you're at a Bills tailgate. Like, you're going to see at least 10 people jump through a folding table in Buffalo.
I found a picture of somebody getting absolutely blasted by ketchup and mustard, like with the biggest possible crowd around them too.
Yeah, I know exactly what picture you're
Yep,
talking about.
there's the folding table one. I
There's
found
the
that.
folding table. Yeah. And it just started. I looked into the research, the history behind it, because I was like, that's weird. Why do we do that? Someone just, had a little too much fun at the tailgate and someone recorded them jumping through a table. It just kind of became a trend where you do that at games now during the
Yep,
tailgates. So
table's on fire.
yeah, tables on fire. It's crazy. Can you see when my dad only took me to the kids' games?
Yeah, I get it. I definitely get it. Is this guy on fire? He's sitting on something on fire. They didn't put the kids on that. They didn't be like, all right, now six of you are gonna jump through this table together. It's like we can fit them all.
Yeah, but Michigan sports, yeah, became a really big part of my Michigan experience very early on. I started going to a lot of different games. Whenever my dad would come to visit, we would have to get tickets to go to some kind of Michigan sporting event. I mean, he drove me back from Thanksgiving break last week Friday, and he was like, is there a volleyball game? Can we go to a volleyball game?" And we did.
Hmm.
So we went to see Michigan senior night actually, versus Purdue Friday night, and
Oh,
then went to
nice.
the OSU game the next day. So
Did we win the volleyball night?
no, unfortunately, we did not.
Dang. Alas. That's okay.
Both teams did very well, though. Michigan looked great.
That's good. I really want to get to a volleyball game. I think then I've got to ask you, eyes on the ground, Michigan versus OSU. What was that like? Like walking through that day?
It was, so my freshman year, I went to the Michigan OSU game at the big house, and I actually had a broken ankle at the time.
No.
So, yeah, so I was sitting at the very top, right behind the handicap seats because I
Uh huh.
couldn't actually get one of those because they were sold out. So I was sitting like in the front row at the very top, with my crutches, and it was snowing that day as well. And
Yikes.
I ended up leaving early. And I just feel like because I was in a boot, I had crutches, I didn't get the full experience.
Yeah.
But this year I wanted that. I left my apartment at 9:15. I got my email the other day telling me that I had scanned my ticket at like 10:03. The gates opened at 10. So
Wow.
We were in there super early. I went with my roommate and her boyfriend and a couple of their friends, and we ended up being, I want to say, like 10, 15 rows from the field. We were directly next to the band too.
That's the best place to be.
Yes, it is. And I loved it because every single time we scored a touchdown, there was a delay between like the touchdown and then the band playing the victors because they were just celebrating. I was like, I love it because they're just so
Yeah.
excited. They're cheering and they're like, oh my gosh, we have to play now. So that was kind of funny, but I loved it for them. It was amazing. I love being in the big house. I love when I'm able to get that close to the field as well. It's just a different
Yeah.
experience than being towards the top. But I had so much fun. I was freaking out. I probably looked outrageous with how much I was screaming
Yeah.
over some of the penalties that were called, some of the plays. Like I couldn't really believe it, but
Yeah.
it was amazing. And then when everyone started rushing onto the field, because I was so close to the field, I didn't actually storm the field. But so many people were trying to get past me. It was a little scary, I can't lie.
That's a
But
little scary.
it was a little scary. But it was just seeing everybody just so excited because I had left the game my freshman year before we'd actually won. So I didn't
Hmm.
get to see that in person. So when I finally got to the top of the stadium to walk out and I looked down and just the field was just covered in people. You couldn't even
Yeah.
see like the turf or any the grass. And it was just honestly beautiful. Like everyone was just so happy, obviously, besides the Ohio State fans. But I
Yeah.
was freezing, but it was an amazing day.
That is incredible. Yeah, no, I have no doubt it was super cold, but like I just kept looking because I kept showing on the TV, like because I was home, but they like kept showing back to the field, and I kept being like, it's still full. Like 30
Yeah,
minutes later, like people were still like in a mass in the heart of it. Like that's so
yeah.
cool. Have you ever been on the field at Michigan Stadium before?
No, and I need to
No.
know like what clubs or organizations do I have to join so I can be?
We can figure out a way because Ross gets to do it like once at the start of the year every year, and
Really?
then there are less official ways to do it as well. But anyways, we can chat about those off air. This is nothing illegal, by the way.
No, no.
No, never would be. I'm curious. This is kind of a bigger shift, but like I want to circle back to housing because like
Yeah.
you lived in Michigan West Quad. You're
Mhm.
now off-campus housing, but you're still working as a community center assistant in Michigan housing. So
Yeah.
like, I guess I'm just curious, what's your POV on like Michigan housing, being a resident, and now having this role where you kind of probably deal with a whole bunch of residents currently?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I lived in West Quad my freshman year. West Quad, best quad, might I add.
Absolutely.
My dorming experience was unconventional. I had a suite, which I was very grateful for. So I had a bathroom, which I so I like never used a communal shower.
That's
We had a
amazing.
kitchen, so I like hardly went to the dining hall. So it
Yeah.
was very, very untraditional freshman year dorming experience, and I'm fully aware of that. But I don't know. I had gotten offered work study my freshman year through my financial aid package, so I was really excited about. But I was getting really nervous about applying for jobs, and I was walking through the hall one day, and I saw the QR code up on the TV in the lobby that said apply to be a CCA, and I had no idea what that was. So
Yeah.
but it said on the bottom, work study can be applied. And I was like, well, I need work study. So I went online and I applied. And they got back to me really quickly, actually. And I had an interview. It was my first real sit down interview. And of course, it was over Zoom, but
Yeah.
I was so nervous. And I was actually initially put into the waiting pool, which is like, we're not like rejecting your application, but you haven't been accepted yet. So I was in the waiting pool for literally a day and a half. And then I got an email that they were giving me an offer at the position. So I was really excited. And I knew I was really fortunate to be able to like get that job. And they had asked your first preference, and I said like I live in West Quad, I prefer West Quad, and that's where I got put, and that's literally where I've been working for 3 years now. And I like all my friends honestly are from my job as a CCA. I've known most of them since my freshman year. We've all been working together because we all either lived in West Quad or South Quad.
Yeah.
So we've all known each other for so long now. But I don't know. I don't mind my job. I think a lot of people would think it's bad because, customer service, you're dealing with college students. It's not bad. I mean, you get like one or two encounters that you're just kind of surprised by, but it's like that with every customer service job, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't dislike working for Michigan Housing whatsoever. I had a great experience when I lived there, so I don't really have any complaints. I have a great boss, which I know a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to say, especially as a college student.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the jobs that they offer college students on and off campus, you can end up up with like really bad supervisors. So I'm really lucky that I have a good one who like cares about us a lot. He ends all his emails with "I'm so proud of all of you," or
That's the
"Thank you for
sweetest
making
thing.
me love my job." It's just he's the best. And it's not a hard job, honestly, working as a CCA. The hours are great and it is work study, so you get to do homework and it's super high in demand though. I
Yeah.
think I've answered the question of how do I apply or where's the application at least 5 times in the past 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's super high in demand and my boss will joke sometimes. He's like, people are applying for this position every day, so if you guys don't want to work here anymore.
Uh-oh.
Um, but that's just, if you aren't working enough hours or something like that, they'll make a little joke. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, it's great. You do have those instances with some residents. I had a resident call me a bitch a couple weeks ago.
What?
Yeah, which wasn't great. It wasn't great. I spoke with my supervisor about it, and he's like aware of it, but he didn't like the way his interaction in the package room occurred, I guess. Which resulted in him going in the hallway and turning to his friend and was like, "She was such a bitch."
Bro, wait. That's crazy.
Which I've never had that happen before, and to anybody, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But you receive the energy that you put out into the world. So, like, if you throw your stuff at me, like your identification, like your M card, you throw your M card at me, and I don't give it back to you by placing it into your hand. Don't like he like flung it at me. So when I gave it back to him, I kind of like tossed it, and yeah, I guess he didn't like that very much. But
Jeez.
yeah, I've never had anything like that happen other than that one instance. But I don't know. Could have been having a bad day for all I know. But
Yeah, but still, like, as much as people have bad days, like, you try to, again, be the energy you want to put into the world. Like, I don't know. That's hard. That's unfortunate. Like, I'm sorry.
yeah. No, it's okay. It's just it happened a month probably now. It's cool. Like I don't work in the package room very often, to be honest. Actually, no, that's a complete lie. I work there all the time, but I haven't seen him since. So
There we go. We got him. And I mean, like, here's the thing. You know where he lives. Like, that's the
uh,
danger here. Like, I would never want to upset anybody, let alone people who know my housing information.
I'm not allowed to use that for personal use, by the
Of
way.
course
Just
not.
to
No.
preface that, I would never do that. But
No.
no,
No,
that
same.
is that is like an ongoing joke that we have though among CCAs. Like, do they know that we know where they live?
Yeah. That's my joke with as an RA. I'm always like, if you need me, you know where I live.
Yeah.
It's right down the hall. But yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's like the only like really bad encounter I've ever had. I mean, you get your like stereotypical of it happened Sunday night after break. Someone wasn't returning until after like the desk closed and she needed a new room key and she sent her friends down to the desk and they were pretending to be her in order to get a room key for her. And it was just like we obviously can't give you a room key to someone else's room. Like please don't
No.
ask us to do that. So you get or oh I'm here to pick up my roommate's package. Like okay, I can't just give you someone else's package. That's a no-no. So
Yeah.
you get other little fun stuff like that once in a while, but
Yeah.
other than that, I just kind of sit at the desk and do my thing.
Do your thing. Bring smile. Be a very positive energy in the West Quad building. All that fun stuff. Yeah. No, the CCAs are delightful. Those that I've gotten to interact with you and Claire and Justin and I are Snapchatting now, which is a fun new development. Yeah, it's a good time. It's definitely a good time.
Definitely.
I want to transition a little bit into just some of the broad-based college topics I love to ask everybody on this show. And I'll start
Yeah.
with what is the best piece of advice that somebody's given to you?
This, everyone always says sophomore year is the worst year, and I didn't believe that until I was living through it. Last year was really rough for me, and I walked out of my apartment on the last day and just was so excited I didn't have to come back again for a couple more months. And it was really difficult. Last year was super hard. Academically, I was taking some really difficult classes. Mentally, I was just in a really bad place with the people around me. And I have this one cousin, him and I are very close, and he is one of the men's golf coach at Penn State.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so he's pretty awesome. And so he lives in Pennsylvania, he lives in Happy Valley year round, but he comes up to visit a couple times during the summer and we like go up to my uncle's lake house. And I was sitting with him and I was telling him about some of the things that were going on, with everything that happened last year at school and some issues I had going on with friends at home. And he was like, Elizabeth, you can control yourself, you can control your actions, you can control control your behavior. What everything and everyone else decides to do around you is their choice. He
Yeah.
goes, he's like, people always tell you, we got to focus on you, but he goes, you are control of yourself. Everyone else around you they are their own people. They are their own entities. He goes, just you. And, everyone always tells you, like you are your first priority, but it's so hard. But then when someone paints it out for you like that, like you can beg someone to want to be your friend, to have a relationship with you in any capacity. But if they don't want to reciprocate it, or if they're rude to you, you can't do anything about that. So that's probably the best piece of advice I got was you control yourself, you can control your behaviors, how you act towards other people. The way people respond is out of your control.
Yeah.
That's how he said it. So
I've received that piece of advice in the past as well, and it's one that I constantly circle back to and tell others about as well, because I think it's very freeing, and at the same time it's hard pill to swallow. And I think at the same time though, like it really helps in so many different situations when you can kind of let a little bit of it go, because you're like, yeah, at the end of the day you just can't have perfect impact on everything, and that's like hard, but at the same time it's like it's good to know and understand that.
Absolutely. And just the way he framed it really made me see that.
Yeah.
And I've been carrying that advice with me in my pocket, ever since he said it to me. So
I'm glad you shared it out from your pocket. Then I really appreciate you doing that. It's honestly the core of this question is I love asking people, like, because you really get a lot of the stuff that has impacted people, and I think that's really cool. And for other things about impact and things, I want to ask, what is the ultimate tip that you would give for somebody going into college?
it's okay if your plans change. I was super set in stone with what I wanted to do, and I thought I had the next 6 years of my life planned out, and I didn't. And I think that's a really difficult concept for a lot of, especially freshmen, to grasp, that you might take a class and you might not like it, and then suddenly everything is shifting and changing. And like, it's okay if you don't stick to your plan. You're not a failure, which I think is a really common thing a lot of students think. If they don't do that they failed. That's not the case. If one thing changes, you are still talented, you're still knowledgeable, you're still a great student, you're still a great person. Like, don't let one thing changing in your path change everything. It's gonna be okay. Like, I think that would be my best tip is it's okay for things to change. And it's gonna happen. You're in college. It's a completely different scene. It's a new environment. So like, if don't let that scare you. Don't let that change scare you.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. I really, really love that. Like, I think that college is a space for change a lot, but I think I think there's the expected change of like, oh, make new friends and develop personalities more. But like when the unexpected change comes comes out of the woodwork, it's like, oh dear. But I think at the same time that's so valuable, and I think college is there for the unexpected change as much, if not more, than the expected change. And I really like that piece of advice, because again, there's that quote. It's like, you can never lose in a race that it's only with yourself. It's somehow, I think, put more eloquently than that. But like, again, like, you don't, it's funny how we try to prescribe failure to so many different things when like we just don't need to.
I completely agree with you. I think we attribute more to failure than we do to success, especially in college. You see one bump in the road and suddenly everything is failing around you.
Yeah.
That's not the case. It's one little hiccup. It's going to be okay. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that once they come to any college, especially I think the University of Michigan, because there's lots of stuff going on here.
Yeah, we're big. We're eventful, and we're full of a lot of people doing a lot of really wickedly cool things. And I think it can make some pressure on the sides of it as well. I think sometimes it's good pressure, but sometimes I think it can also really feed into a negative element here. But still, I think that through that advice and through peer support, things can go really well. Yeah.
I agree.
Kind of diving more into that. What were your expectations going to Michigan, and like how did they kind of hold true? How didn't they hold true?
I was really scared about making friends. I went to a really small high school. My graduating class had under 100 people in it.
Yeah.
And everybody told me, oh, you're going to go to such a big university. You're going to make so many friends. It's going to be so easy. And it was so difficult.
Yeah.
So my expectations were super high in that area. You and your college, your freshman year roommate, you're gonna be best friends forever. You're gonna meet these lifelong friends. And then after freshman year, I didn't talk to any of them ever again. So, that really was a big reality check, because you hear everyone around you who's grown up, I guess, talk about their college years and their lifelong friends. And I don't know, you think you meet this one person, you're like, oh my God, this is my best friend for life. And then summer rolls around, you never talk to them again.
Right.
So I think my expectations were super high just in terms of the socialization, which obviously there is a lot of socializing at U of M, but you don't always hang out with your friends outside of class
Yeah.
or anything like that. So I think I just had really high expectations in that regard. And also, I just, I was really proud of myself. I got accepted to this really difficult university. I thought I was just
Yeah.
going to thrive as soon as I stepped into the classroom, and that wasn't the case either. So the reality of getting my first B on an exam, which isn't even that bad now when I look
No.
back on it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that reality check was crazy because I just, I took French my first year and then my first
We.
semester of my sophomore year. Oui, oui. And I did great in French in high school. And I did not do great in French here. Foreign language is so difficult in this university. So when I walked into that classroom and I heard everyone else speaking French, the professor was speaking so fluently and I didn't understand a word she was saying. So, you get accepted and you think you are an academic weapon, basically. And then you
Yeah.
like go to a class and it kind of all sits in and you're like, oh, we're all, great students. That's why we're here. They're gonna expect that from us. Which was a really difficult pill to swallow at first.
Yeah, it is. I'm curious. What about the language? Is it just like the proficiency you're already walking into with Michigan language? Is it the like 4 days a week of courses? Like, what makes Michigan languages different than like high school language?
I don't think I was as adequately prepared as everybody else was. I loved my high school French teacher. She was great. But my senior year, I took advanced French and we watched movies and we didn't really do a lot. So I honestly felt like that I'd went an entire year without French, basically. And then when I took my placement test, I got put into French 103,
Mm-hmm.
which the lowest one is, I believe, French 101. So I was just proud of myself for not getting put into the first class.
Yeah.
But then to see how advanced everybody was already in 103, they all had so much experience. And I mean, like I said, I went to a really small high school. So my French class was the same 12 people all 4 years. So
Yep.
you just get used to just talking to the same 12 people every single day. But as you mentioned, the 4 days a week is kind of exhausting,
Yeah.
especially when that's your only class. That was my only Friday class my first semester of sophomore
That's
year.
tough.
And
That's
I had to walk
really tough.
all the way across campus to the North University building.
Not a
And
North University building.
I know, not the nub,
No,
not the
not the nub
nub.
is the nub is the closest thing to my high school chemistry room. Like straight out of the 70s. Yeah,
No, I was just confused why I was having French and then like
in the nub.
in the nub, like the environmental science building. Like in my head, I associate that with science. So like, why is
Yeah.
my French class here?
I think nub is one of the most un-French sounding words that I could
Yeah,
possibly conjure. It's like,
it is. You're right.
yeah,
No, it was extremely difficult. The professors had really high expectations. I ended up building great relationships with all my French professors though, which I'm really fortunate for. But it was difficult content. The way that they graded your speaking was so harsh. You would lose participation points if they even heard you whisper English during class.
wow.
So I did meet one of my best friends in French 232, which was my last semester. He walked in on the first day of class and there was an empty seat next to me. He walked in like a minute late and he sat down and he goes, "Hey." And I thought the way he had spoken to me, like I knew him and I couldn't recognize him. I'm
Yes.
like, who are you? And after I got my first participation grade back, I literally consulted my professor about it and was like, oh, what can I do to improve my grade? And she said, I know you and Andrew are like best friends and it can be really hard not to talk to him. And I was like, hold on. I met that guy 2 weeks ago
Yeah,
on the first day of class.
that's amazing.
It was so funny. But yeah, they very high expectations, very strict grading in speaking and writing, which are like the two main components of a foreign language class. But
Yeah.
the the grading is very, very harsh.
Wow. I appreciate that
Yeah.
insight because I feel like you hear about Michigan math, you hear about a couple other Michigan departments that are new and different and unique. Michigan
Mhm.
language, I feel like flies under the radar more, but it's like interesting to hear about that POV because even just the 4 days alone is kind of is a surprise to hear initially. But yeah,
It definitely is. I would have definitely preferred 2 2 hour days a week compared to 1 hour 4 days a week, but
oh yeah,
that's just me.
no, I'm right there with you. I want to circle back to housing a little bit more, kind of ping pong. What is a dorm room essential item for you?
A really good mattress pad.
Yeah,
You need it. Those matches, yeah.
Yeah, you
I
see it.
I see it. I don't even think you could call them mattresses, to be honest. That feels like a
No.
stretch. I had one of those really good like Tempur-Pedic ones from Bed Bath and
Yeah.
Beyond.
Oh yeah.
It had like cooling in it. I don't really know how it works, but I was never hot when I went to bed. You need a really good mattress pad. Doesn't matter what dorm you're in, where you are. That's my essential. Like you need one if you want to get any sleep whatsoever.
No, 10,000%. I want to roll into dining a little bit. What is the best Michigan dining hall on campus? And then like in the general Ann Arbor vicinity, what's like your favorite restaurant?
I didn't go to a lot of dining halls, honestly.
Mm,
I went to South quite a lot because that was super close. I think the best dining hall because of its variety, in my opinion, is East Quad.
okay.
I went to Mojo a couple times and that was about it. But I went to East Quad a lot because I had a math class in East Hall, so I
There we
went
go.
there a lot freshman year.
Hmm.
But yeah, East Quad for sure was my favorite place for dining food. Off campus, I gotta go with good old Hopcat, to be honest with you. I
Okay.
love their pretzel mugs.
Yeah, heard that. I agree.
Yeah, I got a weird diet because of some health stuff, so I'm not very adventurous and there's a lot of diverse cuisine options in Ann Arbor.
Yeah,
And I hate the fact that I can't really enjoy them. Like I can't really do like sushi, which is super popular. I
that's
can't do
tough.
Mediterranean food. There's a lot of places I simply can't eat at. But Hopcat's usually pretty safe and I like it there. So
That's nice. Yeah, it's
yeah.
unfortunate with like that if you're not able to try some of the other places, but Hobcat pretzel nugs, you really can't go wrong.
No.
That's a very true statement. Now, what's a moment from high school that you still think about?
High school kind of haunts me. I think about high school a
Yeah.
lot. One of my roommates, actually, we went to high school together, so we frequently find ourselves talking about high school. One moment though, probably honestly graduation, which I feel like is so stereotypical.
But it's so
But
valid.
I was the last one to walk across the stage. My last name is a Z. So that just felt so, I don't know, symbolic in a way, you know. It was the last one from the class of 2021 that got to cross the stage and get their diploma. Everyone was just kind of waiting for my name to get called because then we knew once my name was called, we were done.
Yeah.
There were so many cheers from the parents because they're like, yeah, the ceremony's over. But just, that kind of closing moment. I don't want to give myself too much credit, but I kind of felt like I was like the closing chapter of
Yeah.
high school. Like I was the last one to walk across that stage.
You shut it down.
I did like class 21 out, like officially
Out.
we're done. So that moment I think about it a lot. And when you cross the stage, they read off all the schools you were accepted to and the scholarships you received. And I was just so proud of myself in that moment because, I heard everybody else's achievements as well. But just hearing like be spoken so highly of, and it was for me. I was like, that's kind of amazing. Like, thank you.
Yeah, senior year was a really special moment for that, where I feel like there were so many payoffs. Graduation definitely being like the biggest one, but like I remember that too, whether it be like at the senior scholarship night and like being so proud of my peers and yeah, and like the work that I put in that like the one puts into like senior year because it's just a grind to get through that year, let alone like all the college stuff and all the scholarships and it all feels so piling up. So that's a really proud thing, something to be proud of. And like I remember the letter of recommendations too. Can you think about that? Like reminded me of those of like just like hearing the kind words from your teachers and from people who had kind of seen you grow up, like seeing you go through this whole process, and especially that small school vibes. Like it's really special.
Yeah, there's the letter of recommendations I got sent with my Michigan application. I still haven't read those,
You should read
and
them.
I don't know how to obtain them.
Ask whoever wrote them for you and be like, "Hey, you still got a copy?" That's what I did.
I hope they
Yeah,
remember me.
I'm sure they remember you. I know that they do. Yeah. What's a song you would add to a school survival playlist?
Let me pull up my playlist really
Pull up the
quickly.
Spotify. I'll pull up mine and I'll add it right to the list right now.
Oh, that's my musical playlist. We're not gonna look in that one.
Like musical theater musical?
Yeah, like all my show tunes.
Love that.
I'm gonna have to, this. It's gonna sound so sad, but "Mess It Up" by Gracie Abrams. It's
Oh.
just like such a nice little, break, and she has such a great voice. And I don't know, I like in the song she has the acknowledgement that like mistakes happen, stuff happens. But I'm a big Gracie Abrams fan, so
Yeah. I'm a big fan of songs that acknowledge this stuff happened. I think that you get that a lot. I love asking this question because you get a lot of that kind of vibe for this
Mhm.
playlist, which I think is really nice. Like there are a lot of songs that have like there's some meaning and some impact and give some good messaging, and I think it's cool to like see that it almost tells the story of college students through music. But I think that's just me reading way too deep into this. The creative writing minor is slipping out.
Oh my gosh, you
But
have a
yeah.
creative writing minor?
I do. I haven't officially declared, but I'm like going to at the end of the semester. So
That's
yeah,
amazing. I'm an English minor as well.
let's go. Wait, you're dual minoring?
Yeah.
Wow. How do you have the time? Like, is that a difficult
I
thing to manage?
No, I actually was going when I was at the end of last year when I was getting ready to backpack for this current semester, and I was adding up all the credits that I had. I was like, I have a lot of leftover credits. I don't like the freedom of just being like, pick whatever class you want. I was like, I need structure.
Yeah,
So I picked up the English minor and I really like it.
that's amazing.
I do a lot of writing, but because it's just
Yeah.
humanities across the and social science across the board, but it's okay. It's what I'm good at.
Hey, that's amazing. No, that's awesome. Like I love writing, journalism, storytelling. Like I really think it's at the core of what I want to do and whatever I go and do. So it's a lot of
I love
fun. Look at us in our little writing eras.
that.
Go off. Like, this is a lot of fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, the final question I've got for you, Elizabeth, it's a two-parter. What would you
Oh.
tell your freshman self in high school and your freshman self in college?
I think I would tell my freshman self that you're going to experience a lot of difficulties in the next 4 years, both in like your personal life and academically, but you are going to persevere and it's going to be okay. And that you just have to take everything one day at a time because I know I went through a lot throughout high school. And every day felt like it was the worst day of my life. So I think I would just tell my freshman self in high school that just get through the day because everything's gonna be okay. And then like similar, I think, to freshman college me, that you are going to think everything is all planned out and it's okay that it's not, and you are going to face obstacles, and there's going to be so much stuff going on around you at all times, but you just have to anchor yourself. You can't focus on everything that's swirling around you. You can focus, kind of similar to what the advice my cousin gave me. You just got to focus on yourself and control what you're doing because there's going to be people around you, stuff going on around you that you can't control, and you're not meant to. So just carry that mentality through the next 4 years and you're going to be okay.
I love that. I love anchor yourself. I like everything that that invokes. Just like kind of having a central point and like the world's kind of revolving around, but like you can stay fixed in who you are and what you can control. That's both brilliant pieces of advice, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter.
Yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of our show. But the last question I actually have is like, what do you have to plug, share, promote, send the people to? I want to hear it all.
Oh my God. What do I have to plug? It's hockey season, guys.
Woo!
We don't have any home games coming up right now at Yost, but second the winter semester starts, our first week back, we got 2 home games. So go to Yost. Take y'all in the athletics department here because it's awesome. Go to Yost, go to Chrysler, let your fellow classmates know that you're there to support them because it's so much fun and you're going to meet great people while you're there. So
Yeah.
go to Yost, go to Chrysler.
That is all super, super cool. You remind me, and I kind of forget, like, support your classmates. Like, that's such a fun way of thinking about the Michigan Athletics Department, right? Because it is. It's like, it is your classmates. I am in a class with something on the Michigan football team right now, and they're an absolute delight to like, work on projects with. And then I
Yeah.
kind of forget, like, oh, you're also, like, on television playing football, and, like, it's crazy. But there, JJ McCarthy is our classmate. Isn't that fun? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's so much fun. I'm doing a research project on it right now, and
Yeah.
like the life of a student athlete and
Yeah.
like the celebrity status that so many people appoint them. But it's like, yeah, they're your classmates. Like they are super hardworking and
Oh, yeah.
incredibly talented, and just go support them. I'm in a sports and world history class right now, and I'm there with a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
Karen, it's super cool to see them. Like when we talk about, the NCAA and NIL deals, get their opinions and their reactions. But yeah, they're there just like the rest of us. So
Yeah.
support your classmates.
Support your classmates. Go to a Michigan football game. Go to volleyball and Chrysler and Yost and softball and soccer and anything else in between. Because there's so
Yes.
many cool sports happening. Gymnastics, awesome stuff across the board. I completely second that advice. And Elizabeth, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting today. I've had an absolute delightfully great time. So yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much for inviting me. This has probably been like the coolest experience of my life.
Wow, that is very high praise. That means the world to me. Wow. Thank you. I hope it only goes up from here.
No, I was just so honored when you asked me, like, oh my gosh, thank you.
No, I love to. I mean, I feel like I like every time I see you at the front desk, if I'm not like 5 minutes late to class, I'll be like, all right, we're making a pit stop and chit chatting because it's always such a fun time. So I
Thank
had to
you.
get to do that for an hour on air live to the people. So
I
yeah,
hope that
thank
people
you.
enjoyed.
I hope people enjoyed as well. People, if you enjoyed, you know what to do. First of all, contact Elizabeth. Not contact Elizabeth. Find. Follow Elizabeth on all the stuff that she's doing. Go to some sports games. Have a good time. You can find us at StucoPod on Instagram, StucoPod@gmail.com. Send us an email. You can contact me. I can relay stuff to Elizabeth only if it's super nice and wonderful and supportive. That's all I would expect from that inbox. If I start getting hate mail, that's going to be crazy. But anyways, Elizabeth, any other party words before we head out of here?
Go blue.
Go blue! Wishing you the best of luck and the best of times in all of your educational endeavors. The Student Council is adjourned.